I lived paycheck to paycheck for years. Then one decision changed my entire life. I used to count money in a way that most people don't understand. Not in savings, not in investments, not in how much I had, but in how long it would last, days, sometimes. Weeks, rarely a full month. My name is Lynn Tran, and for years, I lived paycheck to paycheck. Not because I didn't work hard, not because I made bad choices, but because no matter how much I tried, it always felt like I was one step behind life. I moved to the United States when I was young. My parents came with nothing. No safety net. No connections. Just hope. And the belief that hard work would be enough. And for a long time, I believed that too. I watched them sacrifice everything. Long hours, multiple jobs. Always tired. Always pushing forward. And they never complained. At least not out loud. So I learned early. Work hard. Stay quiet. Be grateful. Don't ask for too much. That mindset stayed with me through school, through my first jobs, through every stage of my life. And when I finally started working full time, I thought things would change. I thought stability would come. I thought I would finally feel secure, but it didn't happen. Not the way I expected. I got a job at a small office. Nothing fancy. Administrative work. Emails. Scheduling. Organizing things for people who always seemed more important than me. The pay wasn't terrible, but it wasn't enough. Not really. Not when you added everything up. Rent. Utilities. Groceries. Transportation. Small, unexpected expenses that always showed up at the worst. Time. Every month, it was the same story. I would get paid. Feel a moment of relief. Then watch the money disappear. Piece by piece until I was right back where I started, waiting for the next paycheck. Living in between numbers, calculating everything. Can I afford this? Should I wait? What if something happens? That kind of thinking doesn't leave your mind. It follows you everywhere. Into the grocery store, into conversations. Into your sleep. It changes how you live. How you decide, how you see yourself. And slowly, without realizing it, it starts to shrink your world. I stopped doing things I used to enjoy. Stopped going out. Stopped saying yes to invitations. Not because I didn't want to, because I couldn't justify it. Maybe next time. Maybe when things are better. That became my pattern. Waiting. Always waiting for the moment when life would feel easier. But that moment never came. Years passed like that. Quietly. No big failures. No big success. Just repetition. Work. Paycheck. Bills. Repeat. From the outside, my life looked stable. Responsible. Normal. But inside, it felt like I was stuck in a loop I couldn't break. And the hardest part wasn't the lack of money. It was the lack of progress. The feeling that no matter how much effort I put in, nothing really changed. I remember one night clearly. It was late. I had just finished going through my expenses again. Same numbers. Same frustration. I sat at my small kitchen table, staring at my bank account, and I felt something I hadn't allowed myself to feel before. Not stress. Not anxiety. Something deeper. Exhaustion. The kind that doesn't come from work. It comes from carrying the same problem for too long. I leaned back in my chair, closed my eyes, and asked myself something I had avoided for years. Is this going to be my life forever? That question, it stayed there. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Because I didn't have an answer. And that scared me, because if nothing changed, then yes, this was it. This cycle. This constant pressure. This quiet limitation. That thought was enough to shift something inside me. Not instantly. Not dramatically. But enough. Because for the first time, I stopped accepting it as normal. The next day, everything looked the same. Same job, same routine, same responsibilities. But inside, something had changed. I started noticing things I ignored before. How tired I felt all the time. Not physically, mentally, emotionally, how I was always calculating, always holding back, always choosing the safest option, and how that safety was keeping me stuck. That realization was uncomfortable because it meant something important. If I wanted my life to change, I had to change something, and that's where things got difficult, because change isn't just about action, it's about fear. Fear of making things worse, fear of losing the little stability you have. Fear of stepping into something uncertain. And I felt all of it, strong, real, constant for weeks. I thought about it, what could I do differently? Where could I even start? I didn't have extra time. I didn't have extra money. I didn't have a clear path. All I had was awareness, and sometimes that's the beginning. One evening after work, I didn't go straight home. I stopped at a small cafe near my apartment. Nothing special, quiet, simple, I ordered the cheapest coffee on the menu, sat down by the window, and opened my notebook. Blank page. I stared at it for a long time because I didn't know what to write, not yet. Then, slowly, I wrote one sentence. I can't keep living like this. That was it, no plan, strategy, just truth, and something about seeing it written down. Made it real, because now it wasn't just a feeling, it was a decision waiting to happen. I sat there for over an hour, thinking, writing small ideas, crossing them out, starting again. Nothing perfect, nothing clear, but something was happening. I was finally facing my life. Instead of just reacting to it, in that moment, simple as it was the beginning of everything, because what I didn't know yet was that one decision I was about to make would completely change the direction of my life. But before that, I had to face something even harder. The part of me that was afraid to try. That night at the cafe stayed with me, not because I had found a solution, but because for the first time in years, I had stopped pretending everything was fine. There's something powerful about that moment, when you stop saying it's okay and start saying this needs to change. But right after that moment comes something else, fear, because awareness creates responsibility, and responsibility forces a choice. The next morning, my alarm rang like always, same sound, same time, same routine waiting for me, but I wasn't the same. I got ready, left my apartment, and went to work. Everything looked normal, but my mind wasn't. Kept thinking about that sentence. I can't keep living like this. It echoed in the background of everything I did, emails, meetings, small conversations. Even the way I looked at people changed because I started noticing something. Everyone around me seemed okay, not happy, not excited, but okay enough to keep going. And that scared me because I realized something uncomfortable. You don't need to love your life to stay in it. You just need to tolerate it. And I had been doing that for years, tolerating, adjusting, accepting, without questioning. That realization followed me through the entire day. By the time I got home, I was mentally exhausted, not from work, from thinking, from seeing things clearly, and clarity can be overwhelming. I dropped my bag, sat on the couch, and stared at the ceiling, because now I had a problem, not a financial one, a decision problem. What was I actually going to do? It's easy to say something needs to change. It's much harder to decide how, because every option comes with risk, and when you live paycheck to paycheck, risk feels dangerous. I got up, walked to the kitchen, and looked at my notebook. Again, that same sentence was there, simple, direct, honest. I can't keep living like this. I took a pen, sat down dot, and wrote something under it. What can I do differently? I stared at the question for a long time because I didn't have an obvious answer dot, no big idea dot, no clear path dot, just possibilities. And possibilities are uncomfortable because they require action. I started listing things, skills. I had things I was good at, things I had done before, things I had thought about trying. Nothing impressive, nothing groundbreaking dot, just real dot, simple dot, honest dot. And one thing kept coming back, something I had ignored for years, something I used to enjoy dot, something I always thought about but never pursued seriously. I stared at it on the page because I recognized it, and at the same time, I felt resistance dot, strong dot, immediate. That's not realistic. You don't have time. You need stability. That voice again dot, always. Logical dot, always protective dot, always keeping me in the same place. I leaned back, closed my eyes, and asked myself something different. What happens if I don't try? The answer came fast. Nothing changes. That was enough dot, not to eliminate the fear, but to move through it dot. So I made a small decision dot, not dramatic dot, not risky, just different dot. I would start dot, slowly dot, quietly dot, announcing it without expecting results. Just start. That night after dinner, instead of watching something to relax, I sat down and began. Awkward at first dot, uncertain dot, slow dot, but real. And that's how it always begins dot, not with confidence dot, with movement. The first few days were difficult because I was adding something new to an already full life dot, work dot, bills dot, responsibilities dot, and now effort on top of that dot. There were moments I wanted to stop dot, many of them, especially at night dot, when my body was tired dot, when my mind felt heavy dot, when rest felt like the only reasonable option. But I remembered something. I wasn't doing this because it was easy. I was doing this because staying the same had become unbearable. Weeks passed and I kept going, not perfectly, not consistently, every single day dot, but enough dot, enough to feel progress, enough to stay connected to it. And then reality hit again, stronger this time dot, an unexpected expense. Bill I didn't plan for dot, higher than I expected. Remember opening it dot, reading it twice dot, feeling that familiar pressure building in my chest. Because when you live paycheck to paycheck, there's no margin for surprises dot, no buffer dot, no space dot, everything is calculated dot, and one unexpected number can shake everything. I sat down, went through my finances again, numbers tight, too tight, and suddenly that decision I had made started feeling risky dot, not exciting dot, not empowering dot, risky dot, double quotes. Maybe this isn't the right time. That thought came back, stronger than before. You should focus on stability. You can try later. Later, that word again. The same word that had kept me in the same place for years. I stared at my notebook dot, then at my laptop dot, then back at the bill. Because now, this wasn't theoretical dot, this was real life, real consequences, and I felt the weight of it. I sat there for a long time, dot, thinking dot, calculating dot, doubting dot, and then something inside me shifted. Not emotionally dot, logically dot, clear dot, simple. If I stop now, I guarantee nothing changes. That was it dot, not hope dot, not motivation dot, just truth. And sometimes truth is enough dot, so I adjusted dot, cut small expenses, reorganized things, made space where I could dot, not comfortable, but possible. And I kept going. That's when something important started happening dot, not externally dot, internally dot. I began trusting myself dot, not because I had results, because I was showing up dot, even under pressure, even with fear, even when it didn't make sense. And that changes you, because trust isn't built by thinking that it's built by action dot, and the more I acted, the less power that fear had. But I didn't know yet that I was getting closer to something small but powerful enough to prove that this path I had chosen was real dot. By that point, I wasn't expecting anything anymore, not quick results dot, not recognition, not even a clear sign that what I was doing would work. Had shifted into something else dot, routine dot, quiet effort, show up, do what I can, and move forward. That's it. And strangely, that made things lighter, because when you stop expecting immediate results, you stop getting disappointed every time nothing happens. You just continue. And that's where something started. Changing dot, not dramatically, dot, not in a way you would notice from the outside, but inside. I was becoming more stable dot, more focused, less emotional about every small outcome dot, and that's when it happened. Not in a big moment, not with noise dot, just a small shift. I was at home one night dot, same setup, laptop open, working quietly, and I decided to share something, not everything I had been building, just a small part of it dot, enough to test, enough to see if it had value dot. I hesitated before doing it dot, of course I did dot, because once you put something out there, it's no longer just yours dot, it can be ignored dot, it can be judged, that can fail. And that fear, it doesn't disappear, you just learn to move with it. I took a deep breath and did it anyway. Then I closed my laptop dot, not because I didn't care, because I didn't want to sit there refreshing, waiting for something to happen. I had learned that lesson already. The next morning, I almost didn't check. Part of me wanted to delay it dot, to avoid whatever result was waiting. But I did dot, slowly dot, calmly dot, and there it was dot, not a lot, not overwhelming, but something, a response. Then another dot, then a message dot, simple dot, short dot, but real. I like this. I stared at those words for a long time, because after so much silence, something finally came back. Not validation dot, confirmation dot, confirmation that what I was doing had value, even if it was small, even if it was just the beginning. That moment, it's hard to explain, because it doesn't change your life instantly, but it changes your direction dot, and direction is everything. I didn't celebrate, I didn't get emotional, I just sat there, quiet, letting it sink in, because this wasn't luck, this wasn't random dot, this was built dot, slowly dot, light nights dot, dot, fear dot, consistency dot, all of it led to this. That day at work felt different dot, same office dot, same tasks dot, same conversations, but I wasn't the same dot, not anymore. I wasn't just someone surviving between paychecks, I was someone building something. And that identity shift, it changes everything dot, because once you see yourself differently, you start moving differently, speaking differently dot, thinking differently. Even small things change dot, the way you sit dot, the way you listen, the way you respond, and people notice, even if they don't understand why. That afternoon, one of my coworkers looked at me and said, "You seem different lately." I smiled slightly. Different how? She shrugged, calmer, I guess more focused. I nodded. Maybe. I didn't explain dot, not because I wanted to hide it, because I didn't need to. This wasn't about telling people dot, it was about becoming something dot, quietly dot, consistently dot, more. Days passed, more small responses, more engagement dot, nothing huge, but steady dot, and then something bigger happened. Message dot, different tone, different intention. Someone asking about what I was doing in a more serious way, not just curiosity dot, interest dot, real. Interest dot, we started talking dot, slowly dot, naturally dot, and then it came, a question I wasn't expecting yet. Do you offer this? I paused dot, because up until that moment, I hadn't thought that far. I was still in the phase of building dot, learning dot, testing dot, but now there was an opportunity, a real one, and with opportunity comes a decision, stay safe dot, or step forward. Thought about it for a moment, not too long, because I have learned something by then. There will never be a perfect time, only moments you either take or let pass. So I answered, yes. Simple. Direct. Even. Though part of me wasn't fully ready, and that's the truth most people don't talk about. You don't wait until you feel ready. You move and grow into it. We continued the conversation. Details. Expectations. And eventually an agreement. Nothing huge, but real. And when it was done, I sat there in silence again, because this time it was different. This wasn't just feedback. This wasn't just interest. This was value. Someone was willing to pay for something I created. That moment, it changes something deep inside you, because money isn't just money. It's proof. Proof that what you're building matters. Proof that you're not just imagining things. Proof that you're moving in the right direction. I didn't celebrate loudly. I didn't tell everyone. I just sat there and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Relief. Not because everything was solved, because something had finally shifted from effort to result. From doubt to evidence. And from that point on, everything started changing. Not fast. Not easy, but real. Because now I knew this could work. And once you know that, you can't go back. After that first payment, I didn't feel rich. I didn't feel successful. I didn't feel like everything was solved. What I felt was something much more important. I felt capable. And that changes everything. Because for years, I had been living inside a limitation. I didn't question. Working. Earning. Spending. Repeating. Always dependent on the next paycheck. Always calculating how long my money would last. Always feeling like I was just maintaining my life. But now, something had shifted. Not outside. Inside. I had proof that I could create something beyond that cycle. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. The next few weeks were different. Not easier, but different, because now I had direction. I wasn't just trying anymore. I was building. And that changed how I approached everything. After work, I still felt tired. Still drained, still mentally exhausted some days. But instead of asking myself, do I feel like doing this, I asked something else. Does this matter? And the answer was always yes. So I kept going. Consistently. Quietly. One step at a time. More people started reaching out. Slowly. Not overwhelming, but steady. Enough to keep momentum. Enough to build confidence. Enough to grow. And that's how it happened. Not with one big moment, but with many small ones. Each one building on the last. Each one reinforcing the idea that this path was real. There were still hard days. Of course, there were moments of doubt. Didn't disappear. They just got quieter. Less powerful. Because now I had something stronger. Evidence. Results. Even if they were small, they were real. And real things build belief. Month by month, things started shifting. Not dramatically, but noticeably. For the first time in years, I wasn't stressed every time I checked my account. I wasn't calculating every dollar with fear. I wasn't feeling that constant pressure sitting in my chest. It wasn't gone, but it was lighter. Manageable. And that feeling, it's something you don't understand until you experience it. Because when you've lived paycheck to paycheck for so long, even a small sense of breathing room feels like freedom. Then came the moment I didn't expect to come so soon. Was sitting at my kitchen table again. Same place where I used to feel stuck. Same place where I used to feel overwhelmed. But this time, it was different. I opened my numbers. Income. Expenses. Everything laid out in front of me. And for the first time, something changed. I wasn't behind. I wasn't barely making it. Wasn't waiting for the next paycheck to survive. I was stable. Not just stable, moving forward. Leaned back in my chair, looked around my apartment, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not excitement. Not relief. Peace. Quiet. Steady. Real. I sat there for a long time, thinking about everything that had happened. Every late night. Every moment of doubt. Every time I almost stopped. Every time I chose to continue, and I realized something. It wasn't one big decision that changed my life. It was a series of small ones. The decision to start, the decision to continue. The decision to not stop when things got hard. That's what built this. Not luck. Not perfect timing. Not talent. Consistency. That's it. Months later, I made another decision, one that used to feel impossible. I reduced my hours at work. Not completely at first. Just enough. Enough to create more space. Enough to invest more time into what I was building. That moment, it felt bigger than anything else, because it wasn't just about time. It was about trust. Trusting that what I was building could support me. Trusting myself, and that kind of trust, you don't get it from thinking. You earn it. Step by step. Eventually, the day came. The day I left that job completely. I remember it clearly. Walking into the office. Same desk. Same people. Same routine. But I wasn't the same person anymore. I finished my tasks, closed my computer, looked around one last time. Not with frustration. Not with anger, but with respect. Because that place, even though it kept me stuck for a long time, also gave me something, a starting point, a reality I needed to experience, to understand what I didn't want anymore. I walked out quietly. No big announcement. No dramatic goodbye. Just a simple step forward. And when I stepped outside, I took a deep breath, because I knew I wasn't going back. Not to that life, not to that cycle. Not to that version of myself. For years, I lived paycheck to paycheck, believing that was normal, believing that was just how life worked. But the truth is, it wasn't the paycheck that was keeping me stuck. It was the pattern, the routine, the decisions I kept repeating without questioning. And the moment I decided to break that pattern, everything started changing. Slowly. Quietly. But permanently. So if you're in that place right now, feeling like you're always one step behind, feeling like no matter how much you work, nothing changes, listen carefully. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need more time. You don't need everything figured out. You need one thing, a decision, a real one, the kind that makes you uncomfortable, the kind that forces you to act differently, even in small ways, because that's where everything begins. Not in big moments. In small shifts. Repeat it consistently. And one day, you'll sit in the same place you once felt stuck, look at your life, and realize you're not there anymore.